Hello guys, this is your favorite Wiggly Willy, and we're back in Tarn. We just left the ancient pyramid that was, well, it is
I am no beast of burden.
on the outskirts of the city. We defeated a very evil entity, which was the Val Oversoul, placed in a very ancient defense mechanism. And as it usually is, while going through a location available just after defeating a boss, we have to whoop some asses before we actually get to the camp. We've got some guards here, and a girl needs to be rescued. Hello, lady.
I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but we've no time for talk. Tolman was out here with me, and now Piety has him. They're headed for the crematorium. I have no chance against Piety and your blackguards, but you're another matter entirely. Please,
Yes, I
you've not come
am.
to rescue me. Tolman is just as worthy of your generosity.
Stylish. Isn't it too warm? You're probably sweating off your face. Maybe she has a jaw like Milena in Mortal Kombat. Jonah Unchained. Now, Jonah the Unleavened. Ha!
Mortality is the mother of life. We have turned our backs on her.
Ah, that's a catchy phrase to put on a wall. Let's do some ass whooping a bit more, maybe. Not really anyone to whoop here, so let's enter the Sarn encampment. The NPCs here won't be very talkative until we find Tolman, but we have to sell the loot anyway, so might as well exchange some courtesies and small talk.
Keep your distance, Exile. The name's Grigor, and when you've had your eyes fill of my twisted visage, how about you turn those fine jellies of yours eastward? Yes, you've brought Clarissa home to us, and once again I see she pesters me with pity. There's only so much broth, so many bouquets that a man can take. For a criminal, Clarissa has a strangely soft center. Still, I'd rather not see that heart of hers harden. See if you can find that lost boy mate of hers. With him around, Clarissa doesn't have as much time to bother me.
Well, either someone was experimenting on him, Or he's a meth addict.
Death came to town. The roaring Ezomites wore red. The red of blood. The red of the fray. Death came to town. The crying Ezomites wore black. The black of disease. The black of dismay. Death came to town. The silent Ezomites wore gray. The gray of twilight. The gray of decay. Only the Isles of Scoth were spared. Once a backwater of my proud civilization, now all that remains of the Ezomites.
So we have another group introduced.
Goodbye.
We had the Azmeri, we had the Val, we had the Karui, and now we've got the Ezomites.
Need something? You're alone. So Tolman's... You didn't go to the crematorium. No, of course you
Aww.
didn't. This isn't your fight. I'm sorry. It was wrong of me to put that on you.
You see, this
To
guy
ask
is
you to
wearing a
risk your life for
bucket
someone
on
you don't
his
even
head.
know.
Ah!
Don't worry. I'll work something out. I always do.
Ah! Intelligence, armor and energy shield. No resistances. Fire and some armor. Rarity and lightning. Nope. Cold and chaos. In comparison to nothing, and we've got 4 slots. This is gold for us. Pure gold.
Watch yourself.
So, I think we might even try to switch the colors so we can use it for our main attack. Lightning, energy shield. You can sell it, it's bullshit. Okay. We've got gloves. We need 1 red and blues. Shit. It's strength based. So I might not get it. Ha! I did it. Okay, let's compare the damage first. 408. And cities are always a bit more laggy. Holy Flame for healing. This I don't know what for. 468. Of course it's gonna be a bit more expensive to use. Still it's worth it. Remember that it's per totem. So it's like a 100
Need some help?
DPS boost. Oh, we've got some flasks also here. Grand one.
Hello.
Greater, greater, greater. For a grand one. So we've got 2 grand flasks here.
meat in the shell of a long-dead snail. An empire slow to see where its path was taking it. Built on the husk of another and destined to be buried time and time again. This city will see great things yet, Exile. But not in your lifetime.
Yeah. Creep factor
See you.
over 9,000.
A Templar, an exile? Now I've seen it all. Dominus must have run out of honest businessmen to banish, and he's finally getting to the real criminals.
Oh,
Review, your worship.
watch
Truth, I'm
it,
grateful to you for
Targan.
returning Clarissa to us. Problem is, one die lover ain't much good to anyone. Like gloves, they tend to be more useful than peers. The missing glove, in this case, is a young fella named Tolman. May God above light your way to Tolman's salvation, brother.
The slums are east of here. Used to house the unwashed of the Empire a couple centuries back. Now it's home to the walking ulcers and sores of this poor city.
That's one way to put it. Okay, have no use for this one.
Matamor Patur thanks you, Exile, for returning our Clarissa to us. She is the gentle heart of this place, a spirit still capable of love in this wasteland of hatred. Yet that gentle heart remains in jeopardy. Tolman isn't deserving of Clarissa, but she'll not smile until he's by her side.
If you remember, we read about Maramoa in the Letters of Exile.
Dominus and his Ebony Legion arrived some time ago. Now the blackguards scour Sarn like hungry maggots on a carcass. What are they looking for? Only that which is best left unfound. There is nothing else.
We did some talking. Now let's do the walking. Previously, the slums were a bit how to put it? Well, the slums were a bit harder to explore. It wasn't so straightforward. Now you basically have the crematorium that we are supposed to find, and one location more which is not yet available to us. Previously there were also entrances to other districts, and well, they probably wanted the people to have it a bit easier. So it's like, if you have a quest and you're supposed to find something, you can't really miss it. Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad. It's just how it is.
Life in his right hand, death in his left. And then there are those who fell through God's fingers.
Yeah, it's It's actually a terrible place to find yourself in. I think it's even more edgy than the Exile prison. You're the wise guy. Hate beat. Faster. So as you can see, in the crematorium we're looking for Tallman, and we have a trial to complete. Well, I already have it completed, but it's here. Okay. That probably marks the place where Tallman is held. We might as well take care of that now. And look for the trial after. You can see I can summon the totems behind closed doors, making me really safe from opponent attacks. Of course, some projectiles go through, but most of them don't. Now, let's unlock our one of the main defense mechanisms. Oh, devil, devil, oh, Satan, ah, death, 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 hell. You okay?
A dead man and a living machine. There's your truth, heretic.
Yeah, haters gonna hate.
Enough of this.
And yeah, Piety decided to leave before even the fun started. Tallman is unfortunately dead. Got baked. Piety has an affinity towards electricity. You have to have that in mind. It's going a bit slow because the monster has elemental resistance. Easy. Don't try to hide in the corner, it's not gonna help. A bit unfortunate that we have to go back a bit, get there. Another door with another monograph.
1,000 ribbons, our finest city burned. It burned with fires lit by cruelty and neglect. It burned with shame for giving the title of emperor to a man who did not deserve it.
This is a very, very nice fact from the history. So, it seems that there was a sort of a revolution because someone didn't like a certain emperor, and it ended in an event called Night of the Thousand Ribbons. Here we are introduced to heated floor. As you can see, it's eaten up health quite quickly. Some monsters are resistant, most are not. We've got one more switch to turn. And it's done. You see, if we would miss something, it's actually set here where we should look for the trial. So we had the prison, there is the crematorium, we had the crypt, and we had the chamber of sins. And there are two more left in this act to complete. Let's start with Clarissa.
Poor Tolman. I made this bracelet for him when he first arrived here. Idiot said he'd never take it off. I called him a liar. He didn't though. Not once.
Yeah.
I need to give you something. I asked a lot of you out there in the slums. More than I should have. You tried. And that's all we exiles can ever hope to do.
We've got door keys. That is the other Location accessible from the slums.
Those keys unlock the gates to the sewers. Tolman found them. Figure that in the worst of times, people will hide their wealth in the worst of places. We were never game to test his theory. Not with the Undying down there. But you're strong. Stronger than any of us here. I don't think you need to fear the dark.
When I'm walking a dark road, I am a man who walks alone.
Sorry, I need some more time to think. We'll talk soon, I promise. Be careful.
Let me know in the comments if you know where I took that quote from.
I no longer dream when I sleep. I have a nightmare. The same nightmare over and over. The mirror. It's never my reflection looking back. The first time that mirror appeared to me, it was Cole I saw. A rapist from Oriath I had the displeasure of sharing a pen with in Gravisius' stockade. Piety took him for her experiments, and that night I saw her handiwork while I slept. This time it was Tolman, flesh dried to leather, organs shrunk to husks, blood trickling through his skeleton like red dust in an hourglass. It's Piety's gift to me, that mirror. At least I won't be seeing Clarissa the next time I look into it. Make sure it's not you I see either. I walked halfway across this forsaken continent because of an ode. Of jewels and eternity, it's called. For twinkled promises of jewels and eternity, the Gemling Queen gave her heart and body to the King of Shades for one more day in the sun. The last day in the sun. That's but a portion of the full epic. The Gemling Queen lived, and she's the enigma behind the fall of the Ezomites and the Eternals both. Look to the Solaris Temple to the northeast. Find the Gemling Queen's remains before Piety does, and destroy them.
Okay.
Fun elsewhere.
We've got a new person of interest in terms of history, and it's the Gemling Queen.
Tolman's dead then. Another victim of Piety's cruelty. Perhaps he escaped lightly. Look upon Grigor to see what life entails under Piety's influence. Let me offer you something. In recognition of all that you have done for us. We shall mourn Tolman's death as we shall treasure Clarissa's life.
Gems, gems, gems. Well, we're using freezing pulse, so why not take a curse focused on reducing the enemy's cold resistance.
General Gravisius demands absolute obedience from his blackguards, meaning he's surrounded himself with cowards and lackwits, unable to lift a finger without orders. If you're able, traverse the river and murder Gravisius in his own barracks. He'll be ripping the very mind from the skulls of our enemies.
Quite bold.
Be well.
I'll miss a boy. He was always up for a laugh, whether it was at his expense or not. But I would have missed that Clarissa more. Argan's the name, by the way. And it's my honour to welcome you to Dirty Old Sun, the metropolis of opportunity. The opportunity to make something of yourself, or the opportunity to have a very messy death. Victaria was a poet what ended up leading a rebellion, right under the nose of Emperor Chittis. But here's what really interests me. Our wordsmith was quite a talented larcenist as well. Pulled off the heist of the century, in the name of the people, of course. 3 finely crafted platinum busts, commissioned by Chitless for his favourite trio of generals. Victario and his coppers hold up in the sewers. Now that you have Clarissa's keys, perhaps you'd be inclined to search out those heroic busts for me. I'm sure I can make it well worth your while.
We've got a set of new names mentioned by the NPCs. We'll go through them one by one when the time comes.
Stay out of the
We
shadows.
talked to all of the main characters here, so now we can
Yes, I've had better days.
do the talk about all the topics.
Maramoa's sure of herself, and that kind of surety gets you killed in Sarn. You and all those around you. Hagen's got the right idea. Don't believe in anything that you can't trade or eat. I wouldn't rely on Hagen in a fight, and I wouldn't put too much faith in what he says. But he has one highly useful asset. His obsession with self-preservation. If Hagen deems you of use in keeping his fat self alive, he'll do almost anything
Nice
for
skin.
you. Victario, a fellow warrior of words. He wrote many entreaties to the Ezomites, begging our assistance in helping High Templar Vol depose Emperor Chitus. That was centuries ago. Victario's words held much power then. I imagine they still do.
So we are having some historical frame established here. Emperor Vol.
Victario,
Sorry.
fellow
High
warrior
Templar
of
Vol.
words.
Emperor Chitus, yeah, whatever, and Victario are from the same timeline. If all the other writings are also concentrated on the same period, then probably you can guess that the Night of the Thousand Ribbons is connected with taking out Emperor Chitus. And it seems that Victario and Vol, along with Ezomites, were part of the rebellion.
I tried to penetrate the Solaris temple in the northeast. Almost got myself killed by the bloody ribbons that guard the place. Bizarre, floating tapestries they are. Creatures of cloth and thaumaturgy. Fortunately, a few legionnaires got in the way. While the ribbons eviscerated them, I ran straight into Gravisius. He dragged me over the bridge to the Lunaris temple in the west and put me in Piety's tender care. Didn't say a
Yeah,
single
tender
word to me
as
the whole
hell.
time. I was nothing but a spoil of war to him. Now you must leave me.
Watch yourself.
So quite a fella, that Gravicious, eh?
Greetings. Clarissa will weep for Tolman. She must. The cloud is darkest before the rain. Hagen is a man of many claims, and those claims seldom dance harmoniously together. A lie is a death sentence in Namakanui, so I was raised a daughter of truth. Hagen is a son of self-interest. He's no warrior, nor spirit singer. He's a Korangi. I don't know the right word in Oriathan, but in Karui it means he who wins wars with false promises. Grigor straddles two worlds. 1 foot planted on this soil, 1 in the dirt of spirit and shadow. When you speak with him, be sure to know from which world his words arise. It's an often told story among the Karui, how Vol of Thebris bent his knee to my ancestor, King Kalm, and promised freedom in return for war. While Vol raised his purity rebellion in the heart of the Empire, Kalm took Lord Lion Eye's head and the southern coast all the way to Siren's Cove. It was the greatest conquest the Karui have ever seen.
So, Vol with a bunch of guys from the Eternal Empire asked both the Ezomites and the Karui for help in overthrowing the current at that time Emperor. We know how it ended up for the Karui.
I'd be wearing Gravicia's head on my belt. Go with courage.
Hello. I was Clarissa's guardian angel back in Oriath. Put food on the table in return for a bit of light work. I try to keep her out of trouble as best I can here, but San's full of secrets, and Clarissa's full of curiosity. She's just so ample, is our Marimore. In my mind, you'll find no saucier specimen of womanhood. It's the tattoos and that fancy talk she does. Intoxicating. She's a cool one, though. I can't imagine what that poor bastard's been through. It's a miracle Grigor hasn't completely lost his mind. Granted, he's lost 1 or 2 pieces along the way, but there's still plenty that's worth listening to. Gravicius is the mailed and bloodied right hand of Dominus, and I thought the Templar were meant to be spiritual men of deepest humanity. You notice the sarcasm in my tone, right? Had to smuggle a fellow out of Theopolis once. Got a bit too friendly with Gravicius's wife, he did. Every blackguard was out on the streets looking for him, so I had to think lateral like. We took to the drains and didn't put our heads above the pavement until we sniffed the sea. A grubby bloody job it was, but worth it for the coin he paid.
Ah, she's petting the monkey. And the monkey's petting her.
I'm no history scholar, but I know that Emperor Chittus was overthrown by Vol of Thebris in the so-called Purity Rebellion. But Vol had the shortest reign of any internal emperor. The Cataclysm sort of that.
Now, we have the Cataclysm mentioned. Maybe it's the source of all the evil happening in Ray class. So, small break between the loadings and we're going to the sewers. Okay, we got a stone with frostbite. It makes the enemies more prone to being frozen and decreases their resistance. We might try our luck to make 3 blues here. And now we put the frostbite here. We put a bit long forgotten spell cascade here. And we're gonna put something forgotten even a bit more. And it's our Arcane Search support. Now, how does this work? We've got Frostbite, which costs 47 mana. So we can level Arcane Search now. And now, when we are casting Frostbite, we trigger our Arcane Search which increases our damage and grants cast speed. So basically, while we are debuffing the enemy, we are also buffing ourselves. And since we're using Spell Cascade, the area of effect is also behind and in front of the target area, so it's a bit narrower but longer. And we don't lose any damage since it's a curse. So instead of looking like this, so you have the circle, you have something like this. So it's not really that noticeable in terms of losing the circle's width, but the curse's range is way bigger. It is the entry to the sewers. So it's close. Yeah, it's taking quite a bit of our mana, but at the same time it helps us regenerate and improves our damage, because now we've got Freezing Pulse dealing 566, and if we cast it, it's 700. So the damage is increased by almost 150 per totem. So if we cast the Curse once, it's like a 300 boost. The enemies don't really have anything to say. They just disappear. We've got the bust of Marcius Lion. As we remember, Marcius died while fighting the Karui. While leveling up Arcane Search, we have to make sure that we don't break the triggering threshold. It's supposed to appear after each cast. We've got an Undying Blockage here. Probably something similar to the tree that we had to kill in the previous act. Sorry guys, I have to quit for a moment. Yep, I almost died. Tears are running on my face. I hope I didn't break your ears. But in the worst moment of coughing, I reminded myself that I assigned a button to switching off the microphone. Hell. The second one was for Gaius Centauri. We don't know anything about this character yet. Of course, sometimes casting the curse, it's not even necessary. See, it's working well enough without any boosts. Coughing again. And the third one is also for a character we don't know yet. Okay, this one detonates nearby corpses. There aren't any besides of this one. We might position ourselves here while escaping. Well, we're gonna W our way out of here anyway, so... Okay, we've got more and more loot here. We're gonna take the belt with us and sell it. I mean, sell the stuff in general.
The Beatles poet could hide us spoils from chitters, but not from us, eh? I knew you was the Exile for the job. I'm sure you've been more than compensated already from Victario's stockpiles, but here's a little extra. Care of something I found under a dead man's bed. Why? Just because I like you.
Nice guy, eh? Okay, we've got 3 grand life flasks. Let's replace it with a giant life flask. Let's put the other giant one here. The grand here. Let's pick the reward. Book of Skill. Always nice to have one. Gave us also additional respect points.
You looking sharp?
Lightning and fire. Well, this one gives us strength, but this has better resistances. The base for this belt, in my opinion, is shitty.
Come over here.
I think I didn't ever use an archetype that required me to have a belt enhancing the stun duration. Now, how should we develop? At this point, you won't have any problems with damage. It's gonna scale as we level up our gems. So, let's focus on building up life for some later, problems. So, gonna be in this maximum life. So, this is how it looks. We already took some nodes, but since a lot nodes concentrated on critical strikes is here. Same goes with cold damage. We're not gonna be venturing here. So let's type cold. So we've got some here. This is the main place. Some here. So we're gonna do something like going through here, going here, gathering probably this life, as we also might be needing some dexterity, so we're gonna be picking nodes like this one, or this one here. I don't like to invest in equipment before actually needing to go for something late game-ish. I prefer to offset it with some skill notes and then just, refund them and do something else. I'm talking and talking and I'm not using the points, so here it goes. So, now we've got 22. It's using 47, so it's still safe to upgrade it. We're gonna be maxing out the curses anyway. Here we have another hideout to unlock. So, clarity, spell totem, and lightning damage. We're still developing clarity because even if it takes more and more mana, well, we really need the regeneration. While I was turning off the microphone, I made the minimap a bit smaller. Can't get used to it a bit.
I write this now in hope that someone will remain. Someone may remember. The sun is an orb of blood.
Again.
I write this now in hope that someone will remain. Someone may remember. The sun is an orb of blood. Twisted twilight shrouds my eyes. The air reeks of anguish. San has plunged into nightmare. The man who served me coffee now writhes on the floor. He rants of visions he alone can see, as writhing red tentacles grow from his face, as if his eyes had been seeds waiting to sprout. It's quiet now, my waiter. No more cackling and screaming. Dead. Of my fellow patrons, only 2 live. The others have fallen. Their blood
We have to
is
listen.
everywhere. The survivors, gemlings both, their skin shrivels and grays to the hue of necrosis. Their gems flare with unholy luster, their eyes black as hatred. A gemling ghoul, it twisted off a corpse's head, gnaws at skull-like dog. My head now, visions clawing at me. Thinking burns. I see horror. Envy the mute corpses at my feet. Words flame flee me. All is madness.
All is madness. That was kind of a graphic description, considering what kind of knowledge was served to us until now. We may assume that the description concerns the outcome of the cataclysm. And we have a new word introduced, mainly demlings. If we analyzed how some of the monsters here look, it seems as if they might have been once people who had those gems or connected to their bodies. And when the cataclysm came, they were the first to be corrupted. Peekaboo! Fell for it. Here we have a monster called Marseilles the Defaced. So it's basically a statue of Marseilles Lioneye, which came to life. Like a hot knife through butter. We have a point of interest here. Ornate chest. Decanter Spiritus. It's an item with a quote from Malachi the Soulless. As we remember, Malachi is the person leaving instructions for both Chavron of Ambra, who made experiments on Brutus, and for Inquisitor Maligaro, whose creation we found in the Chamber of Sins. We have a quest which started when we took the Decanter Spiritus, a Swing of Hope. It tells us to go to the docks. Previously it was a bit harder because it didn't appear until we actually got to the docks and took the quest.
There is nothing eternal in this empire of ours. but the names of our day that shall be revered or reviled in the centuries to come.
We may assume that ordinary people might have also not been happy with cheaters. Ah. They see me, totems. They hate him, I told you. Now it's 26, so we can still upgrade this dash. This location is not directly connected with the plot. We need it because it has another tile.
To this land, delivered to this task, I will prevail.
Someone's getting confident. It's a place similar to the altar in the Felshire ruins. As you can see, the clearing is very smooth, so I don't feel really obliged to use my 3 points immediately. This location is basically cleared. There are probably some single monsters left, so Trial of Ascendancy.
An emperor cannot allow himself to become buried in the shadowed vaults of self-doubt, cannot allow thoughts of imagined disaster to spin about inside his mind like so many strife-splintered wheels. An emperor navigates his way through the terrors of perplexity with his eyes set firmly on the rising sun.
Yeah, same thing goes with dating. If you're doubting in yourself, you will fail. Okay, we've got these discs going through. They deal insane damage. You don't want to be hit by them for too long. Wow! Shit, what did I do? Okay, I used the teleport and went back in. That would be awful. Let's get out of this place. Here we have some potential damage increase. But let's start with this one. It's on our way to getting more health. And it's still damage, right? It's gonna increase our spell damage, our casting speed. So also the casting speed of these little fellas. 608, and now it's at 680. Keep in mind that for now the only investment we made is those 2 alchemy orbs spent on 2 first snow jewels. But I think it's really good to have 5 projectiles instead of 1. That's my opinion. Now, this is a battlefront. We've got shitloads of dead blackguards. And some ribbons. So actually we can see the victims of the conflict during which Grigor was captured and brought to piety. Okay, it freezes us, so I'm not gonna use it. We don't have anything to counter that yet. And we've got another point of interest. Here we've got a blackguard chest. We got a card. I think it's our first one during this playthrough. Cards are items which can be exchanged for other items if you have enough amount of them. And the chest had a ribbon spool, another item which tells us to get to the 2nd level of the Solaris Temple. Another graffiti? Yep.
The shadow whispers and simpers at the Monkey King's feet. When the Monkey King puts his back to the sun, it is the shadow that leads the way.
That's one of the way of the common folks to describe their emperor. If someone calls you a monkey king, they don't have a very high opinion of you. Okay, here we have the entrance to the docks. As you can see, we have a roadblock here. This is where the blockade was. And there's one place more we can enter from here. If you add 2 to 2, then the result will be that the other place is the Solaris Temple. Okay, they are being under the influence of the impenetrable shrine. That's why we were able to survive that long. Yeah, even if I miss them with my curse, they are screwed because I increase my attack. And we have level 31.
I am no beast of burden.
Wow. Tidy up. But it's not that important. $32. It's still okay. We level it up, so the boost is bigger and it's gonna work longer. Because now it's 4 seconds, but we're gonna work on that. Ah, Mr. Fairgraves. How can we actually reach you? Probably through here. Okay, let's start with Mr. Fairgraves. We've got a waypoint here.
Now there's a familiar face. Before you say anything, yes, I did try to kill you.
Yep.
Inexcusable. I
You
allowed
don't look
pragmatism
that
to
good.
overpower honor in a moment of desperation. Please accept my deepest apologies. And what do you say? Can the two of us make a fresh start?
Can we?
Marvelous. Now, as you've clearly noticed, the All-Flame has given me another respite from oblivion. Alas, it's a partial success only. I am neither man nor spirit, living nor dead. A state that comes with some rather frustrating restrictions. I know we've only just been reacquainted, but to put no finer point on it, I need...
You need my help.
Greetings. Interested, are we? Oh, splendid. In return, I have a gift or two that I may bestow upon you with a click of my translucent fingers. All you need do is furnish me with a crystal decanter and a juicy piece of fruit. Two humble items that remain agonizingly out of reach for a man in my peculiar situation.
Yeah, you're dead and you can't do shit.
I'm sure you've heard of Malachi by now.
Yep.
Ever the heterodox, he sought otherworldly inspiration by imbibing a substance called ghost wine. For the purpose, he created the decanter spiritus. I found it on my last visit here. Liquid placed in this crystal decanter becomes quasi-apparitional in nature. I'm sure you can glean the decanter's usefulness to me. Conventional liquids simply don't hit the spot. I am one sorely parched revenant. I hid the decanter spiritus in the marketplace so as not to cause temptation for the less morally steadfast in my crew. Look to the carven heraldry there and find a lion dancing upon the waves.
You already have that covered.
Emperor Chitus was stabbed in the posterior by his own Lord Mayor on the eve of the Purity Rebellion. Chitus's grieving gemlings buried him in the Imperial Gardens, and a plum tree was planted upon his resting place, so that his mourners might taste of his glory for years to come. I found that tree, and one of my men tasted its fruit. I've never seen so much agony crammed into such a brief moment. This may seem a peculiar request, but please bring me one of Chitus's plums.
Interesting.
This current form comes with rather frustrating restrictions. It's a small improvement on my last incarnation, but I'm a man who used to poke his sticky beak into the furthest corners of the world. Now I can barely cross the road. It was no mean feat getting here from Siren's Cove, I can tell you. So here's the truth of it. I intend to sup upon mine own death. Oh, fear not. The All-Flame will resurrect me, and with luck, will restore my full freedom. But for that to happen, I must die. And in such a manner as to excite the All-Flame to utmost ferocity. I am convinced that only the fruit of Chitus can provide a demise of sufficient tragedy. Life is full of painful choices, is it not? I visited San some 30-odd years ago. Those ghasts, the Undying, you call them, scurried up from the sewers near the river and slaughtered all but a few of my most stalwart lads. Oh, they're a foul parody of humanity, those Undying. Nothing in common with a fine, upstanding revenant like myself.
So, basically wants to commit suicide by applying himself with the Chitus plum, but in order to be able to consume it, he needs the decanter to make it a bit more outwardly. Supply container. Hermetic sulfide.
I am no beast of burden.
Wah. Okay. Let's Okay, let's throw this away. Let's pick this one. I think we're done with this place. I'm just gonna teleport here for a sec so I don't lose my progress. In terms of exploring the level, I don't want it to generate again. Let's sell
What's
our
going on?
stuff.
What's up?
What's up? Now we have something more adequate. Here. In terms of healing. It would make quite a nice weapon if we had more dexterity. Let's get rid of the currency items. And let's get back here. To the battleground. Battlefront, sorry. More ribbons and less blackguards, it means that we're heading towards the right place. Solaris Temple, here we come.
Something eternal remains in this empire. The question is, how?
Yeah. Everything that we explored until now looked literally like shit. And here it's all fancy and well, not aged at all. Level 2. Identified, but freezes. Ah.
Death to sin!
Rogue Exile ignites. Okay. Okay.
I am no beast of burden.
Ah. We got another waypoint. And we have
You're
Lady
not a cockroach.
Diala.
Strange. Inundated with cockroaches I am. Black ones, four limbs, nasty, spiky things. Are you spiky? If so, my ribbons will pluck your spines. Malachi liked spines. Liked my spine. Pretty spine. Bejeweled and bountiful. Enough to make an empire weep. Do you weep, not a cockroach? I do. Tears are infinite. Why, on this very day, I found a new reason to cry. What is that you have? Not a cockroach. My ribbon spool. Those black ones wanted them, my ribbons. Wanted to wrap the city in black ribbons. Now they are my ribbons forevermore. Forevermore. I hate forever.
She's a
I
bit
could tear happy ever after from Bard's bleeding tongues. You're
crazy.
still here, not a cockroach. Oh, gratitude. Yes, I should give you a token. Token? What token? This? Is this to your liking? The cockroaches will come again. They want the twist. That cockroach emperor. The other bugs shout his name. Revisius. Cross the river, squash the emperor cockroach in his nest. The bridge. It is barricaded. That spawns a tricky question. Questions. Questions. I asked too many questions. Chit has told me so. I asked where it all went. Our feculence. He made them show me. Under the river. The sewers from this side to that. Filthy, fetid tunnels like a rower's cloaca. A black place. Crawling with the undying. Once beautiful and arrogant gemlings. Now the foul waste of the Empire. Fitting, isn't it? Apt. 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 I like you, not a cockroach. I like that you listen.
Thank you,
It would annoy me if the Undying murdered you. Formitic sulfite.
We've got that.
That's what you need. You have some already. You are a resourceful humbug now, aren't you? Give it to me. I was all eyes and ears when Malachi worked. I will make something of your formitic sulfite. I will forge an infernal talc that will bring the most furious of light to the undying darkness. A dash of arcanity, a pinch of insanity, a whisper of profanity, and the infernal talc is now ready. It's the most explosive of powders. A sprinkle, the gentlest of dustings of infernal talc will provoke gems to a molten rage. For the undying, the very sun will rise within their flesh. They will burn for their sins, not a cockroach. They will burn. I was the Emperor's favorite for a time. But Chitus had many favorites. He filled the scepter of God with favorites. Every now and then, he cleared away the clutter. Those who pleased him, they were given to his lords and generals. Those who did not were given to his thaumaturgists. I talked too much, asked too many difficult questions. I was gifted to Malachi, my dear, troubled Malachi. I loved Malachi. He gave me gems, divine jewels for his gemling queen, for his dead queen. But I didn't want me dead. Malachi begged. For him, for the Empire. I chose me. Selfish me. The Empire died, and I live. I live, and live, and live, and live.
So we just met the Gemling Queen. And she was associated with both Titus and Malachi. So first she was Malachi's girl, one of many, Titus's. Then she was given over to Malachi. He made some experiments on her, and somehow she survived the cataclysm.
Pretty as porcelain, but her mouth spins like the potter's wheel. That's how I once described Diala. Yet on this day, my lady is as ravishing as a nightmare, radiant as the fullest moon. Diala is my gemling queen, and we shall rule side by side over the world that will soon come to be.
There is something called the Eternal Laboratory. We've got a Reverie's Vice.
I awoke, feverish and barely conscious. I set to drawing these maps through the sable hours. By morning my fingers ached, my eyes burned, yet still I found no rest. The Reverie commanded its rendering. The Reverie device now stands completed. I've placed the first of my maps within its receptacle. I've taken my maiden voyage into nightmare. I know now that which sent me this precious gift. It knows me, expects my return. It would be foolish to disappoint. Malachi.
So Malachi found a connection to something different, something otherworldly, and well, was it cooperation or was it deceit?
That's impressive. Tear down the walls that imprison the mind. That is what the gems do. That is their true virtue. The moment my fingertips brushed the cool, silken plains of that first gem, I felt it. My skull ached as if its contents were growing, pressing against the bone, searching for a way to break free. That night, once the wine had dulled the pain enough to allow the onset of sleep, the dreams began. I have not been without them since, nor would I be. Every spark of thaumaturgy that I wield, every device that I forge, every creature that I transfigure, I owe to these lessons cloaked in nightmare. From whence do these precepts hail? Certainly not the mundane grey between my ears. I possess only one reference that bears faith. Translated with unquestionable clarity by that idiot savant, Isius Perandus, the beast. Duriani of the vow knew the truth. Soon now, so shall I. Malachi.
So, Malachi managed to contact with an entity called the Beast, and with the knowledge given to him from the Beast, by the Beast, he created virtue gems. And he felt that it is most efficient to actually put them in living bodies. While, for example, we only use them to improve our equipment.
Greetings. Traversing the sewers under the river. I should have thought of that myself. Yet, the more of a picture you paint of that undying concoction in the sewers, the less I want to see it. If you manage to destroy it, expect a storm of undeath to descend upon you. The dark is their home, and there'd be nowhere more homely to the undying than a pitch-swathed drain under a river. Be well.
Stay out of the shadows. They bite.
Yep, that's one of his catchphrases. What do we have here? Mana, life, and shield. Oh, still better than what we have. And that's so sad.
Watch yourself.
We need a couple. We have a couple
Be
of
careful.
topics to
The Gemling
discuss
Queen?
with her.
She's impossible. How did she survive? Why is she not one of the Undying? No, these questions can wait. There's a more pressing one. Is she safe from the Ebony Legion? You've been busy. With the spool back where it belongs, the ribbons should be able to keep the Ebony Legion at bay. We've both seen what they can do to a man. Whether you were saving your own skin or thinking of others, it matters little to me. You succeeded where I did not. You have stood in the presence of the Gemling Queen. I can only hope to meet her in my nightmares.
Oh, don't be so, unforgiving to yourselves.
Piety's a genius, sculpting mere human clay into divine gemlings. At least, that's what she told me when she opened me up and buried a virtue gem in my entrails. Malachi did the same in the name of the Emperor centuries ago. Chittis's gemlings still rule San. We call them the Undying now.
Well,
Tread
Malachi
carefully,
certainly
Exile.
seems more proficient, considering how Lady Diala looks and how Grigor looks.
Hello. Maramoa. I've heard that the Karui have this philosophy. Makanui, the way of the warrior. I don't think you could get any more Makanui than her. She took it upon herself to look after me before Tolman arrived. Saved my skin more than once. I'm fine with that. Beats being on her bad side.
Yeah.
Hagen likes to think he was my kind old uncle back in Theopolis. Granted, the work he gave me saved my parents and I from starvation. This was after my father lost the family fortune at the card table, and we had to give up the manor in the country for a flea box in Theopolis. But he's not half as generous as he makes out. When Hagen gives you something, you can be damned sure that he's getting his pound of flesh in return. No one should have to go through what Grigor has. I help him as much as he'll let me, but he's a proud one, and so he should be. He's survived what has destroyed too many of us.
Yeah.
Halfway across the world, and yet the tie between Vanir and I endures. That was Piety's real name back in Theopolis, before her rise to greatness. Vanir sold her thaumaturgy in the day, her body at night. Sought after, she was. Enough so to become one of my best buyers. But money never meant much to Vanir. No, she was striving for something better, nobler. You used to tell me that life needn't be this hard. It's time you all realized
So
that.
they're all a big family,
Told
huh?
me the same bloody line. The blackguards talked about Piety's precious gems being infected with nightmare. Tolman, what did she do to you?
Oh.
Vanir was arrested for consorting with the unholy and condemned to the pyre. This was before the banishments. Dominus shared a last supper with her, heard her confession. Most think Vanir earned Dominus's patronage on her back. I don't. Vanir gave Dominus her better life and got a new name in return. You can count on one thing. Piety's grand future won't include the likes of you, me, or Tolman. You find a high enough spot and you can see the Lunaris temple over the river, at the western edge of the city. Since the blackguards arrived, the clouds above that temple have been stained with the blackest of smoke. You can see it sometimes when the westerly blows. It stinks worse
So
than
they
death.
had a temple for the sun and for the moon.
On the fall of the Empire, the historians are deathly silent. After the Purity Rebellion, the Kingdom of Kaon blockaded Oriath, preventing any trade or correspondence with the mainland. It said that Kaon planned to invade. Only when the Karui retreated did Oriath get any news from Rayclast. But by that time there wasn't really anyone left to tell the tale. I know. So strange that stone and metal should move and live as you and I. Still, I read that Chitis's sculptors used to soften their materials with thaumatic sulfite, a byproduct of gem refining. It's the only connection that I can fathom between the cataclysm and the living sculptures of
And
Sarn.
the Gemling Queen used that to make explosives.
Chitis thought that the gemling was the pinnacle of human progress. These glorious gems have brought us within spitting distance of godhood, he once said. The High Templar at the time, Vol of Febris, thought they were a perversion. He wanted the Empire made pure, cleansed of the stain of thaumaturgy. You look at Sarn and tell me which one you think was right. And while you're out there, look out for monkeys. No, not those bloody monkeys from Frisia. These ones are painted on the walls. I think you'll find them enlightening. Be careful.
I will. Okay, let's spend the time a bit and move to the sewers. Undying Black Cage. Here I come. Bam. Obliterate. Okay. How do we want to proceed? Let's increase our life and mana first. Ooh. Nice change. So we left the sewers. We're in the Ebony Barracks, so here is where the Legion of the Blackguards decided to have their camp while being stationed in Rayclast. Let's make sure that they get the message that they're not welcome here. We've got a marker.
Your god's greatest disappointment, heretic.
They're calling me a heretic. Well, there's for someone who will be dead in a couple of seconds. See you later, alligator.
Where will your journey end, Exile?
And he's down.
You chose the road, old friend. God put me at the end of it.
Denied. Okay, they want us to return to the encampment. Let's check our damage. So we've basically got 2 Ks.
You are the true spirit of the Makoru, the shark. Not the cowardly beast that sinks its teeth into the lonely swimmer. You strike the Waikoama, the canoe, spilling a feast of men into the water. Hunters turned hunted, that you dine on at your pleasure. Have this.
Whatever. So, we took out a very important person for Dominus. Supposedly his right hand. Now we have to sever the other one.
Citizens of the Sun that was. The Undying have been around for hundreds of years. Left to their own devices, they'll likely survive for hundreds more. Still, they're not immune to mortality's touch. They can be killed, with some difficulty. Citizens of the... There's still prey out there. An overreaching witch floundering out of her depth. Happy hunting, Makoru. Be well.
Come over here. You've done for Gravicius.
Hmm.
If only I could get word to that lad I smuggled away from the general's wife at the time. The good widow would need a sympathetic shoulder.
Aw, come on.
Don't do anything I would.
What is it? Gravicius dined with us once. This was before my father's gambling debts caught up with him. I dined with him again in Theopolis prison the night before my exile. He wasn't so polite that time. Thank you. That's one memory I can now put to rest. Watch yourself.
Despite everything else you've done, to let piety live is to threaten the existence of every living thing on this continent. Look to the west of Gravicius's camp. You'll find piety in the Lunaris temple, cowering behind her desecrations. The Eternals revered sun and moon as the 2 eyes of their god. The right eye judging Solaris, the left eye merciful Lunaris. I can't imagine that god being overly merciful when she finds out what piety's been doing in her temple.
Let's see if they want to tell us
Tread carefully,
anything more about the temple. If not,
You getting by?
Greetings.
let's clear it. So, 2 locations accessible from the barracks, the temple, and the Imperial Gardens. You see that the ribbons here have a different color. Ooh. Looks neat also. Something ominous is lurking. Let's see what it is. He was probably someone a bit more important. Not important enough to hover over him and check his name. He didn't last long enough. So that's enough in terms of following the carpet. Very peculiar. Looks similar to what Grigor looked like. And we've got another big boy. And this one is named Cole. This is the guy Grigor mentioned to us. Piety was making experiments on him. He wasn't nice before, and now, well, he's surely not a bit better. And he exploded. Tyrant Wand. Didn't have a nice wand drop for a long time now. So it seems Piety spent a lot of time here to perform experiments. And she's certainly no goody two-shoes. What
And so
the
I
hell?
take my first steps into damnation incarnate.
Yeah, she's certainly into going a bit over the top. Rivers of blood, corpses everywhere. The idea behind exploring this place is that you have to find a place in which the stairs lead you higher and higher, just like here. If you're not going higher, you're not doing it correct.
I am no beast of burden.
Yeah, if he's a soul eater, he can kill himself by consuming bodies of the disease around him. So you have to be careful with guys. Who wants to expect now? We have to be careful because their projectiles might obliterate you quite easily if you don't evade them. Especially if you're wearing a bathrobe. As I mentioned, I'm supposed to go up, so there's no point in exploring here if the stairs are going down. 41. Now it's 41. Bit like this. Stairs up. What we're looking for. $2,200. And we have here our first corrupted zone. Corruption is connected with the Val and their culture. But I'm gonna wait for it to explain itself. Places like that have a increased difficulty, but on the other hand you get more loot. Let's tell what we have and check.
What is it?
You getting by?
So, nope. One's similar. Not change it yet. Now, spell damage, lightning, increased cold. That's nice. With a chance to ignite. We should check both of them. 869 923 923 932 in this case 932 951. So we need one of these ones to be improved. Now it's 818, 805, 86. So this one's better. So let's improve this one. We want it to, to have 3 slots, and we want them all to be connected. The size. Yep. Nope. Yep.
Hello. Bring me back something nicer.
Certainly not your mama. Oh. Okay. If we want to sustain ourselves a bit better, let's improve our regeneration. They might be a bit more cold resistant, but it's nothing that we can't mitigate with our curse. Our damage is just too high for them. Okay, we have a book icon here, so that's where the boss is. Each location has a mini boss. Some of them can be a real pain in the ass. But we're totem users, so we don't really care. 2 daggers and armor. GG, thanks. Got ourselves a helmet. What did I say? What did I do? I flattered. I promised. I bared my skin and soul to my beloved Atsiri. I did everything but offer to die for her. That's where I went wrong. So we have a letter of a Val citizen mentioning an Atsiri. We're gonna return to that later. Someone's having fun. I don't even know what that skill does and how it works. It's a new skill. Didn't read about it yet, but I don't feel that we're making a mistake by just leveling it up and having it in our equipment.
Will prevail.
Looks like armor. Nope. Finally. We've got doors. Yeah, those guys are especially dangerous if they can stack those green balls, and that's frenzy. Okay. Are we ready to face piety? How are resistances look? Fire, cold, lightning. Well, at least lightning is not our worst resistance. As you can see, they cap at 75. So, we're more or less prepared.
Your conviction drives you, heretic. But have you thought what it might drive others to do in return?
Piety can transform herself using these portals. So it's best to not let her use them.
Damn you.
Tango Delta, she's down.
Rest while you can, Mistress of Suffering. Judgment will not go easy on you.
She disappeared. Portal. Ah.
Piety's off to meet the Maker, is she? I'd love to be a fly on the wall of that little chat.
I doubt.
Bring me back something.
You have claimed the most worthy of prey, Makoru. Piety, the mistress of corruption. I'm not saying the war is over, but you've given Rayclast a much-needed respite. Because of you, this land lives to see another dawn. And don't forget that you've done Grigor and Clarissa a justice of some magnitude. They will wish to speak to you.
Yeah. Corrupted stuff gathered from corrupted zones usually has a lot of nice buffs, but due to the fact that it's corrupted, it cannot be changed in any way. I can't change the colors or the connections or anything. Still. This one gives me more life. It's based on armor. It gives me rarity. I've got enough fire. And it gives me more lightning.
Wherever he is, I'm sure Tolman knows what you've done. I know you didn't do it for him, or for me. It doesn't matter. Piety's reign of cruelty is over. Thank you.
No problem.
Watch yourself.
Oh.
Piety dies amongst her abominations, her warped dream taunting her, maddeningly out of reach. As a poet, I'm fond of that creed of justice. Here, the executioner needs recompense.
Book of Skill, Grigor. You know what I like.
Unfortunately, piety was simply a puppet of a greater force. You've cut the strings, but the master remains. Dominus. That key you've picked up, I heard the blackguards talk of it. It's the one key to the scepter of God on the northern edge of the blackguard encampment. Only piety was permitted to carry it. Dominus accessed his laboratory at the summit of the tower via a pulley system rigged to the outside wall. That way will be barred to you. And I heard of no one, not even piety, going in or coming out of the lower levels. Go with care, Exile. I can't imagine what's inside that tower if even piety and Dominus feared to tread its steps. When piety was experimenting on me, my consciousness was mercifully fleeting. In those moments of numbing darkness, I met a presence. Intelligence, power, immensity beyond the limits of my pitiable mortal senses. To this creature, I was but a raindrop falling into the sea. I heard piety speak to her lackeys of the beast. It is the source of her thaumaturgy and the object of her ambitions. I believe piety's beast and that dark entity are one and the same. Wherever it is, whatever it is, the beast is the cause of my malformation. It would not be a stretch of reason to consider the beast the source of all malformation in Rayclast.
Well, it might not be the Black Spirit who was the reason behind Calm's demise, but it's certainly a force to be considered in the whole Rayclast problem. Giant. We've got 3 colors here. Good.
Still breathing,
Now we're gonna sell this. Use this. And I'm gonna check one thing. Because later it's very possible that we will be switching to daggers. Yeah, we will be casting with daggers. Why? Wands are all about damage, and usually, just like this one, increasing specific damage for an element. While daggers focus on critical strike chance. And some of them, just like this one, also have additional spell damage and specific elemental damage. And in a couple levels, like couple, that's an understatement. When we're like 70, then critical attacks are gonna be really important for us. Now you see that damage is quite mediocre, but it's gonna change with time, so I might as well have those daggers there as a form of reminding me about it. Okay, we covered this part for life. Got some life for minions here, that doesn't help now. We've got some life here. So, let's keep that point for now and see how we are doing. Next stop. The Imperial Gardens. Yeah, I'm a sucker for portal scrolls. So, Dominus somehow, from the feedback given to him from Eramir, decided to pursue the studies of Malachi and his wild bunch, so Maligaro and Chavron, and that also leads us to unraveling the mystery behind the cataclysm. Nope. So we have a trial here, an optional quest, and, judging by the map, something more also. Here we have a library. What better place could we think of in terms of unraveling history?
A leader cannot simply stride forward into the future and expect his people to be able to follow. A leader must look over his shoulder so that he can witness and understand the consequences of the path he has chosen, to ensure that his people are still with him, to ensure that he has not become lost.
To ensure that not calling him a monkey behind his back. Here we have poisoned arrows introduced. They can slow you. Yeah, they deal a lot of damage. And it's better to watch out. That's that. Yeah, we don't have our amulet left. the one which healed us. That's why from time to time you can see that I'm a bit lower on my health than I usually was. But I'm just gonna cover that with the skills I was talking to you not last time, but a bit before that. I'm gonna take this too. Well, it gives me almost 1% of my life healed. Second, so should be enough. And it's gonna work better when I get more life, of course. Freezing Shrine. I don't like how it works. Yeah. Not very high against some monsters, but it gets the job done. Now we are at a historical place. We're at the foot of Scepter of God. And shit. On these stairs, Emperor Cheetos was murdered by one of his men. So let's explore a bit more, so we finally get the plum from his grave. It's still way better to regenerate even a bit than not to regenerate at all. Ah, here it is. So, we've got the plum. Now we have all important places in this location covered. Let's have a quick jump to the docks and let's return here. to the docks. Well, Fairgraves decided to commit suicide in the most hideous way, in hopes that the old flame will resurrect him.
Look at the sheen on that plum. Is it not the most delectable fruit that you've ever seen? No? Perhaps the gloss of hope is for my eyes only.
Uh-huh.
Wondrous! Nothing bonds two souls more soundly than murder. For that reason alone, I knew you could be relied upon. Now, for a little amateur vintnering. A quick squeeze of the plum, like so, into the decanter. Oh my! Look how it transmutes the juice so swiftly, from material to spectral. Effortless. And what an aroma. Imminent death never smelled so sweet. I believe I shall call this fine concoction the Imperial Nightcap.
Uh-huh.
Before I get too carried away, there's the small matter of your recompense.
Yep. Edding. Well, what do we have? We have some shitty rarity ring increasing our attributes, and we have a fire resistance ring providing only fire resistance. Let's go with rarity. We are more or less safe for now anyway.
A toast to swift endings and promising new beginnings. Oh, and you might want to avert your gaze once I have quaffed this diabolical brew. I doubt that my return to solidarity will be a pretty one. Right. As I used to say in the love dens of Trathus, bottoms up, girls.
Uh-huh.
Oh my. Now that's an unusual sensation. Oh dear. Something is amiss. The all flame. It's... No. No. It's gone out. What am I... What are you? Oh, you cannot be. I will not.
Whoa. He went out with a bang. Well.
The longer you run from God, Fairgraves, the more damned you become.
Oh, that certainly burned more than the plum. Let's check the ring. How's that fire resistant? 101. Now it's more balanced. Nice. So, if we cease using this ring, we won't be able to use our frostbite because we're missing out on 9 points of dexterity. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Shit. Gotta go fast to the library. Okay. This is book number 5. Not 30 enough. We're gonna read all those books after we finish the rest of what we can do in the library. Tiosa. And the waypoint.
Please, do not be alarmed.
Do you remember this voice?
Murderer, though that is the duality of existence that defines San these days. My name is Tiosa Fuanga, and I have the bleak honor of being the sole scholar to the Imperious Intellection, this grand repository of knowledge you see about you. May reason preserve us. In more mundane circumstances, it would be preposterous to ask this of you, an utter stranger, but given that I don't know in which century I might see another pair of flesh and bone hands, there's a door, you see, concealed behind the shelves. It leads into the archives. That's where Isius Perandus concealed his
Isius Perandus, the same person responsible for mentioning the beast first in his translation of Valtex.
Suffice to say that they are beyond my reach. 4 Valish texts they are, of priceless historical insight. Please, find my friend's golden pages and bring them to me. You will be rewarded. I vow it before the ancestors.
You should remember this voice as the one telling the story from the Karui carvings. So here we actually have the ghost of a Karui scholar in the Imperial Archive.
May reason. It is the Karui way to observe nature in nature. The fish without the sea is no longer a fish. It is dinner. The Eternals did not see it that way. An Eternal catches the fish, guts the fish, preserves the fish, and places it in a box. Only then does the Eternal feel he truly understands the fish. It was a Karui Motiata that discarded my failing body of flesh in favor of canvas and oil. An ancient song and a momentary lapse in judgment that I've had more than enough time to regret.
Well, can't blame the fella for being scared of dying. So, now, I will find the entrance to the archive, and I will descend there. And after finishing the quest for Siosa, I will read what the library has in store. For at least 5 books describing history. The library is constructed in such a way that the entry point to the level is separated by Siosa and the waypoint from the rest of the map, where potentially the entrance to the archive is hidden. Here we have it. It's not marked on the map in any way. Now it is. Now you see us, and now you don't. Hello guys, we're back in the library. Unfortunately, I had to make a break, and well, my instance reset. I have to find the entrance to the archive again. And since T-Rex was downstairs, it seems we're gonna have to go here. Yeah, it basically means that I have to explore most of the level once more. I would have just skipped it and fast forwarded to the moment that I actually had the entrance found, but since there was so little required to level up, I decided to share this special moment with you. So yeah, we've got level 35. And we've got another corrupted zone here. Where the hell is he? Ah! Dead. Woohoo! We've got a wand with one slot. I'm not sure it's gonna work for us. This will be probably also. Yeah, probably also. Not using it. What did I say? What did I do? We had that fun last time. Okay, we've got number 1 here. And a 4. Linked. Helmet. Well, we actually have 3 links. But it's called the 4 link because we have 4 sockets. Linked together. Now we have to pick up 4 exclamation marks. And those 4 exclamation marks will be pages from the writings made by Operandus. Throwing books at me. What are you, 5? Like in a kindergarten. First we're gonna collect them. And then I'm gonna read you their descriptions. Well, basically it's an item description, but it's an excerpt from the text. So I might also say that I will read you the content. Content page. Yeah. By the way, you can see my experience bar grow. You can tell that the rate at which I'm leveling is quite steady. It's only gonna start slowing down and not really visibly in 20 levels, and it's gonna be visibly slower in another 20, and the next 20, oh guys, you can't even imagine. We've got 4 pages. by Icius Perandus. So the Val were even more steeped in the gem culture than our emperor and his gemling. It's an obsession as old as civilization itself. So even if cheetahs and the gemlings were like, oh my god, I'm so wet, gems are great, give me more, then it was still nothing in comparison to the Val. So Val are the culture dominant before. Your slavery will cause them to overlook you, your carry well will guide you, your humanity will shame us all. So, they thought he was worse, like the population of the Eternal Empire thought he was worse than them, because he was a Karoi native. His Karoi ways made him who he was, so he was distinctive, and it made him be a great scholar. And, well, he was more human than any of them. They were basically a very corrupted bunch. Of course, the ones that were against the gems and started the Purity Rebellion were, well, you can't be a totally nice dude if you tried to kill someone, right? No matter the reasons. A communion, but with what? By all accounts, it wasn't God that the Val were trying to reach. So we have another group. Well, they were basically the first group that decided to connect with the darkness. Right? Remember, it was the beast that told Malachi how to infuse gems. A waking nightmare, madness of the mind or madness of the flesh? That might be a really short, brief description of what happened after the cataclysm started. Volume 1, Kalisa Mass. I never really understood Brechtov's work, just a mess of trills and squeaky highs to my commoner's ears, but that was before Kalisa Mass. From the very first note, her voice reached into my chest and plucked my beating heart from its cage. By the wide glistening eyes of my fellow hunters, I knew that they felt it too. I've previously stolen a quick nap during the area that preceded Antonio's disempowering. Not tonight. The gem at Kalisa's throat sparkled with starlight brilliance as her sharp, shattered every pane of glass in the auditorium. An emergency intermission was called while the stage crew repaired the floods and cans, and a pair of physicians saw to those audience members lacerated by falling splinters. Now, my suspicion of the Virtue Gem is well documented, though General and Courtier might fall over each other to have Malachi embedded them with these miraculous crystals. It is travesty of justice that the legionnaires and workers of the Empire should have such mutilations foisted upon them. Yet in Kalisa Mass, I've seen how these gems may rend apart our mortal bonds and permit our imaginations and souls to truly shine. I'm adrift in the quandary. No, or inside. Is Kalisa the artist or the art? She's the same woman I knew before. The young bundle of talent and timidity I had no choice but to adore. Is she still, in fact, a woman at all? Victoria of Sarn. So, it turns out that Malachi is behind Merveille's demise in the first place because he created the gem used by Alyssa in her medallion, and then this medallion was given to Merveille by D'Arezzo. So it was a corrupted virtue gem. Virtue my ass! You saw what it did to her.
By the ancestors, it's good to see fresh words in front of me. Now, my translation skills are not what Isius were. I can achieve a meager paraphrase at best, but a little knowledge is
Help
better than
yourself,
none,
Siosa.
is it not? Let us begin. This tapestry of truth is a threadbare cloth indeed, but at least you have allowed me to begin the first few stitches in its restoration, and to settle the memory of a dear friend. In return, allow me to give you this, a little practical wisdom to improve your lot.
Now, before a shitload of acts was introduced to the game, Yosa was the sole reason for how can I call it? He was the reason for all the people to visit the library. Now his importance is a bit smaller because he can sell you like 90% of the gems available in the whole game. Another 8% can, or like 5% can be acquired in the later acts, and the rest it's only available from drops. But if you wanted to have a very nice build, he was the guy to visit, right? He had all the goodies, everyone waited and tried to, you know, rush the game to take the gems from him. Previously, if something couldn't be acquired from Siosa, well, tough luck. You should have, you needed to trade with other players. Of course, that's also easy. But what are supposed to say the guys who are playing alone and are self-sufficient, huh? Alright. I'm gonna return to the gems after Yosa gives us the background behind each letter, each golden page, and then we're gonna go through the rest of the text in the library.
My word. Valish contextualized syntax is a slippery eel indeed. Let me see if I can grab it by the gills. They carried their virtue gems to Doriani's bed. No, that's not quite right. Ah, Yes, Doriani's cradle. The historian finishes that it was a price they needed to pay to ensure a Valish future. A cradle of virtue gems? What sort of Valish future did Doriani hope to ensure?
Well, we are still yet to discover who Doriani was for the Val.
Splendid. Let's see what this page has to offer us. It talks of Queen Atsiri. Now, here's a portentous line. She drenches her altars with the blood of those deranged enough to question her vision. The next piece is a real eye-crosser, but I believe it refers to a communion. Something to do with the harvest moon? Again, Doriani seems at the heart of it. Good. This line I can read without issue. This will be our final night of fear, our final night of suffering. Sacrifice, communion, the harvest moon. An unsettling combination.
So we have again the theme of sacrifice in both of the pages. Let's ask him about the Doriani now. Who Doriani was.
I suppose every civilization has its Doriani, its Malachi. Men of divine talent and demented ambition. Without them, history would be a far less interesting place.
So Doriani was a thaumaturgist in the era of the Val. And like Malachi basically served himself, so it seems, and Doriani served Queen Atsiri.
Malachi would never have risen so far without the patronage of an emperor like Chitis. It would appear that Doriani and Queen Atsiri shared a similar relationship. It was said of the beautiful Atsiri that she wished to see her likeness reflected in the still waters of history. Chitis was no less self-impressed. Of all the sins, vanity is the most hideous.
Yeah, and Chitis was also only the means for Malachi to achieve whatever he wanted.
Oh my. This first line is frighteningly clear. Our queen is dead. Doriani is dead. So many have fallen, so many have changed. The latter text is almost indecipherable. It practically hums with agitation. Let me see. I can make out the words sleep, nightmare, and the beast. Whatever that may be. Our historian finishes with, "We have succeeded where our forebears did not. We have failed ourselves." I need not imagine the fall of the Val. I saw the nightmare with my own eyes.
So, it's like history repeating itself. The beast offered some immense power to a thaumaturgist working for a certain ruler. They committed a ritual which ended with a cataclysm. A cataclysm? And the cataclysm.
sun fell in the course of an hour, no more. A tempest raged down from the mountains and engulfed the city, throwing it into midday darkness. I saw madness in my colleagues' eyes, watched as the most rational men in the Empire jabbered and slavered and slaughtered each other. I witnessed Trinian, our gemling intellectus prime, engulfed by the radiance of his flaming cranial gem, and wither like a grape in the sun into a thing of desiccation and famishment. I've seen mountains spew fire in Namakanui. I've seen waves as tall as trees and winds that leveled warriors and walls alike. Nature is what nature is. There was nothing natural about the cataclysm.
Well, and we have the beast in the center of it all.
Strange. I was put in charge of dating the most antiquated of texts. This parchment, it's a remarkable copy, but it's no original. Much younger. Oh my. Listen to this. My dearest Isius, I have been enlightened beyond expectation. Your work in translating these artifacts is worthy of the highest recompense, and thus I am delighted to offer you a position in my personal laboratory. Please do not give your escorts any consternation. I would be most pained to see such a precious asset damaged in any way. I very much look forward to working with you. Isius Perandus, your friend and admirer, Malachi.
That son of a bitch.
Poor Isius. Wherever you went, my pity goes with you.
He used him to learn more about the beast from the Val text.
How survived the Purity Rebellion, I don't know. He was at Emperor Vol's side before Chich's corpse was even cold. I suppose Vol found him as difficult to refuse as Isius did.
What happened after the Emperor died? Yeah, I said I'm gonna take care of the gems first, but I'm gonna take care of the lore first. Purity Chronicles. That's 4. The Ancient, that was 5. Yep. They sounded like monkeys, okay, Jack. Was the rest in the archive? I'm curious if it's already... Yeah. Let's give it a quick clear. Because I'm not sure whether all the books are available there or not. Yeah, sorry. Or did I just miss a corridor somewhere upstairs? There's a big guy. Yep, this place is clear. Apart from this, but if there was something of interest, it would transpire on the map. We've got this place covered. Maybe here. No. Okay, let's work with what we have. The Red Tekma's saddle. In return for her military support in the rebellion, Vol promised Sekma the Sheret the return of the Marakev grazing land stolen during the imperial conquest of the Vastri Plains. So, the Marakev along the Karui and the Ezomites were requested by Vol to help in the rebellion. Sekma agreed on condition that she might have Hector Titus' skin with which to fashion and row a saddle. To this end, Vol and the Sheret engineered a trial for General Titus and his vast region. The Marakev had long been able to predict the comings and goings of the vast dust storms that constantly plague the plains. The Sheret located one such fledgling maelstrom within a day's march of Titus' camp. For his part, Ford identified a number of imperial spies among the Marakev and fed them false information regarding a potential tribal uprising. Taking the bait, Titus had his gemling legions surround the supplied location, thus placing himself squarely in the path of the Sheret's dust storm. On the third Galvano Vitali, The Tempest descended upon Titicius' legion with blinding, deafening ferocity. The Shreds Ahkara, born and raised in dust and wind, swept through the legion, harvesting it like a field of ripe corn. Once Storm and Marrakech fury had abated, the vast legion existed only as a multitude of dust-cloaked mounds. The Red Sekema claimed her prize, and he said that there is no more comfortable saddle in all of the vastly than the Shreds. Garibaldi chronicled to the Empire. So, come to Care of Lioneye, and the Shreds to Care of Titicius. The Fall. The Val. Thousands of years in the making, gone in a blink of Solaris' burning eyes. The Asmeri tell of the Valish migration with equal measures of pity and horror. Small bands of tattered, shambling survivors, bereft of their families, their wealth, and in many cases their sanity. They were welcomed and cared for, but none could give the Asmeri the one thing they sought in return. No one could tell them how the Val realm came to such a sudden and catastrophic end, an apocalypse that came to be known as the Fall. So we have the Fall and the Cataclysm. The number 2126 is forever burnt into Asmerian history. 3126, the number of Val refugees who came to live with and eventually become absorbed into the Asmerian Empire. The Asmerian people. The Asmerians are those people who found the Eternal Empire. 3,126 survivors from the occupation, counting in its millions. As I said previously, history likes to repeat itself. So, before looking at his gems, I'm gonna sell some of the garbage I acquired while taking care of the library.
Mate.
Okay. Done this. We're supposed to check this.
Good luck to you.
Also, I have one thing waiting for me here. And it's high time to start wearing it. Fire powers combined. Totem. Freezing pulse. Lightning damage. Control distraction where is it? No. Cold penetration. Shit. Not enough. Not enough. So let's go with increased critical strikes. Fire powers combined. It's me, Superior Kabbalist Regalia. Yeah. Let's do it like this. I have a slot so I can level it up in the meantime. So 1179, so it's 1180, 1195, 1180, 200, I don't know how it works, but this one seems to be better, and it's a bit problematic. Okay, let's put this here. Hide this for now. The only problem now is that my totem will eat up more mana. That's like 50. Around 50 at least. Diosa.
Friend.
A thing I want from you is called increased duration support. For that I need an orb of chance.
Let's speak again soon.
We will. What do you mean that it's down for maintenance? Do we have one here? We do. Wow.
May reason prison.
Increased duration. So now the effect of our curse works longer, as well as our arcane search. Now it costs 73 because the multiplier on increased duration is quite big, so we can level it up a bit more. Added lightning controlled. Do we have anything blue that would suit us? We're not using fire, we're not using shit. Our mana required would skyrocket.
Let's speak again soon.
So let's finish what we have to do here and go to the Scepter of God.
Don't do anything I would.
And what we need to do is basically just get our stash from items we got from the trade and from the ground. Yep. This is a nice base, so I'm gonna leave it for now. Visible also. Just tidy it up a bit so he doesn't go full I'm no beast of burden on me. And Okay, let's go. Where is the nearest health? Like here. Okay. I'm sure that we have enough damage to progress, so hand at hand. Scepter of God. Here we come. Yeah, and just to let you know, when we use the curse with Arcane Surge, we have 1500 DPS per totem. And since there's not really much to see in the Scepter of God, it should be quite quick.
Every stone placed.
Malachi. Thaumaturge, laureate to the Eternal Empire, the father of dreams. My ass. He looks like a nice guy, but most of the people look nice in temples. And it's basically a temple and a corrupt one. With a madman and a laboratory in his at the top. Yes, you can see if we are setting up an attack that actually requires us to use more than well, basically half of our available mana, then you have to be careful what you're doing. There is certainly not a safe amount to be used with mind over matter in terms of effectiveness. Currently, to be safe, I should have, I would say, 600 mana points. That should be enough to support my how it's called? Clarity, yeah. And make me feel safe. This place was probably magnificent in the old days. Not much is left from that time. We have a waypoint, so it means that we both have a staircase down and a staircase up to a different level within the sector.
My dear Chitters, the Empire has lived in fear and ignorance since its inception. Our Asmiri ancestors, in their arrogance, turned their backs on the lessons of the vow. The emperors before you lacked courage, lacked vision, paying lip service to eternity while scrabbling for approval and comfort within the prison of their meager mortal lives. You are not one of those emperors. You are Chitters the Great, the man who will make this empire truly understand the meaning of the word eternal. We shall build this thaumatocracy together, my emperor, gem by gem, immortal by immortal. Your devoted servant, Malachi.
He certainly knew how to use words and how to lie to people. Upper Scepter of God, here we come. Just to make sure that farming any boss is not too thick, you have to go through a couple of floors or other stages after passing a waypoint to reach the boss. That's why we had a bit more running in the pyramid, a few more holes in Merveil's caverns. And that's why the warden has his own, you know, floor. Yeah, slowly we're getting to the top, where Dominus has his toys set up. Oh, we have a body devourer here. And he's gone. Ah. if this was our first playthrough, we would find the Scion here, trapped and waiting for certain death. Dominus requires a lot of bodies for his experiment. Here we have the tower rooftop. Let's get ready to finish Act 3. Beware, Dominus has very cheesy one-liners.
Exile has tested you, brother. Now let's see.
I would talk a bit about various generals under Dominus, like for example this guy or this guy, Kali the Crazed, but they fall too quickly to even mention them. Have you ever seen the true face of God? Dude, I watch it every morning in the mirror. Bang! Huh. When I started playing this game many years ago, Dominus was the last boss in the game. And when you took care of him, the difficulty level changed first to Cruel and then to Nightmare. I don't remember now. And believe me, I felt the difference. Dominus, the High Templar, Dominus the Ascendant, Dominus the Dead. Revelation! Ah, he's an edgy one. Actually, I got this armor after fighting Dominus in the Legion League during my previous playthrough.
You have mounted the summit of the Empire, not a cockroach. You have crushed the Bug Emperor and wiped his maggot dreams from the skin of Rayclast. Dominus exiled you, naked and alone, unto the palm of death. But you would not die, would you? No. No. Cuddled death, promised it the world, made it your disciple, and so generously shared it with all your fleeting
Oh,
friends.
that
on Rayclast.
I did.
Not once did you forget what you were. Not a cockroach feeding on the corpse of a dead empire, like the pest you crushed as you walked. A man. The sort of man that planted the seed of this empire right here in Sam so long ago. What teetering and twisted life it still holds dear, this land owes to you, Templar. Of course, there will be more. You know that, don't you? Emperors, avaricious little pests scrabbling to steal the legacy of their betters. Unless we burn that legacy, sear its infection from the flesh of existence. Go north, my lovely Unbug. Go to Highgate, to the beginning of the end. Dive headlong into the Nightmare Sea. Catch and roast yourself a nice big fishy.
She talks the talk, certainly. Well, alligators, time to venture straight into Act 4. Hope you liked this episode. Comments and suggestions, you know where to put them below the video.
May these waters wash away my sins and baptize me anew.
Thank you for watching and see you later. Bye 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 bye.